Hey, everybody. It's time to continue our discussion about Orange philosophy of family ministry. Hopefully, you caught the intro video that I released a couple of months ago where we explained what Orange philosophy is. We talked about how the church and the family can work together to help our kids become the people that God created them to be. And that's the essence of Orange philosophy. Last month, we talked about one of the core values of Orange Philosophy Ministry, which is to widen the circle. That means basically that we as parents invite other believing adults to pour into our kids, to add to what we teach our kids at home, so that we as parents are not the only voices that they hear pointing them to God, but they hear the voices of other believing adults, encouraging them and um, helping them grow in their relationship with God. So that was Widen the Circle. That was last month. So this month, the core value is imagine the end. Imagine the end. So what we want to do as parents is take a moment and think about that really hard thing that none of us really want to think about. That day when our kids leave home, when they have become adults and they're independent and they're responsible and they are no longer in our household. When you think about that moment, about that time, how do you see your kids? What are the characteristics, the qualities that you see in them? What have they accomplished? Um, how have they been prepared to meet the demands of living a responsible adult life as a follower of Jesus? I think there's a lot of different definitions of success. So, how do we define that for our kids? What is a successful 18-year-old or 22-year-old or 24-year-old? What does that look like? Is it a kid who did really well in school and so they got into a great college and so they're going to get a great job and they're going to make a decent amount of money? Is that success? Is it a child who spent a lot of time and energy and effort developing their art, their music, their ability to paint or draw or graphic design? Is it that student who spent a lot of time and energy working on their athletic skill so they were able to get a scholarship and play sports in college? What does success look like? Well, I hope that we as followers of Jesus would define success by their relationship with God. I know that that's what I want most for my boys when they're 18 and they move out, or even if it's later, 22, 24. Let's hope it doesn't go past that. But whenever it is that they move out, what I hope most for them is that they are following Jesus with all their heart. So when we look at that time in the lives of our kids, and we have these hopes and dreams for them, we have this picture of what we want them to be, what we hope they're able to do, the way they see the world, the way they think, the way they make decisions. What can we do at this point in their lives, however old they are, whether they're 6 months old or 16 years old or anywhere in between? How can we set them on a path that will lead them to a point where they have the best chance of being followers of Jesus when they get ready to move out on their own? That's what Imagine the End is all about. We're challenged to think through and be really intentional about how we spend our time with our kids every day, the kind of conversations that we have, and most importantly, the example that we set for them. Think about fruit. If you think about an apple that you have at home and you've washed it off and you're ready to take a delicious, juicy bite of that apple, think about how it got into your hand. Where did it come from? Well, for most of us, it came from a grocery store. Well, how did it get there? Well, some farmer somewhere picked an apple off a tree and sold it to the grocery store. Let's go even farther back than that. How did it get on the tree? Well, that same farmer took a seed and planted it in the ground, and he watered it, and he made sure it got plenty of sunshine. And as it grew into a tree, sometimes he pruned it, he trimmed it, he took care of it, he fertilized it. And the end result was that delicious, juicy apple that you hold in your hand. Maybe we should look at our kids that way and say, when our kids are 18 or 22 or however old it is that they move out and go on their own, we want them to be that fruit, that delicious, juicy apple, that finished product, that young person who can make wise decisions about life, who is following Jesus with all their heart. So what kind of seed do we need to plant now? And how do we water that young plant? And what kind of fertilizer do we use? And how do we make sure it gets plenty of sunshine? And what is a good process for pruning when parts of the plant are not growing the way they're supposed to? That's what Imagine the End is all about, is being really intentional about thinking through what we do with our kids, how we teach them, the example that we set for them. So that's what we're being challenged to do as parents. Imagine the end. And because of what we see in the end, because of the vision that we have for our kids down the road, we are intentional about our time with them every day. And we build into their lives opportunities for them to get on the path that will lead them to a place where they're going to be following Jesus when they become adults. We're going to have some tips posted online for ways to actually do this. What are the things that you're actually supposed to do? How do you plant the seed and water it and give it sunshine and prune it? So we're going to post some tips for this later on. I'll send the email out with the link for that. So just be looking for that. And in the meantime, do some dreaming. Do this with your spouse. Do this with your kids about what does it look like for them to be following Jesus at 18 or 22 or 24? And think together about what you can do now to help them get to that point. Look forward to hearing your stories. God bless.